Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy here, Terrell from Terrell Game Vlogs, back at it again with another. It's weird because I don't really call these societal discussions anymore. That's what this is. I just don't call it that. But for the sake of people being interested and people have been asking me to do more of these, here's another societal discussion. Ignore the Pokemon hat. I'm just trying to be a cool bro, man. Let me do me. My chest. So, with the current situation that's been going on as I record this video, with people being pretty much forced home, although we seem to be getting into the more clear skies, if I could say so, of the situation. But with all this time, I think this, if nothing else, has served for something that I don't think a lot of people do. God, I hope you can't hear any knocking right now. If you can, I'm going to be pissed. I'll know when I edit the video. This has led to something I think that's very important, which is the concept of introspection. I think a lot of people don't fucking do this, especially people my age or younger, are very much in the generation of, I'm going to do what I want to do. I ain't worrying about the future. I just want to get what I want to get done. And it never hurts to sit down and take a hard look at yourself or a hard look at your life. I have a sneaking suspicion you can totally hear that knocking, which is a fucking problem. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. I'm recording a video in the middle of the day, and my mother's outside banging on a fucking fence. The one thing I think a lot of people don't like to do, because it's a hard reality that you have to face, is taking a good hard look at yourself in the mirror. Because usually when you do those kinds of things, it creates a situation that makes you have to acknowledge yourself and your own weaknesses and make you acknowledge the parts you know you've been fucking up on, or that you're not where you want to be at. And people don't like to do that, particularly because introspection can lead to you completely changing your life. Usually it's for the better, but it usually causes some level of shakeup. And you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be aware of it. Some people are aware of their own problems and actively try to avoid it by drowning themselves in work or partying. What? Or partying. Wow, English is terrible. This is what happens when you're out for too long. You forget human language and you can't interact with people. It's not healthy. I need to fix it. But I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Stop. But, like, there are a lot of people who avoid their problems. A lot of people do it through drinking. A lot of people do it through, like, drugs. A lot of people do it through work. They try to drown themselves in something completely different or something to distract them long enough from facing the cold hard reality that they're very much aware of, which is usually, I don't really like the where my life is currently at right now, or I don't like where my life is headed. But it's too hard for a lot of people to be in the middle of whatever they're doing and then stop and then shift gears and then start on this new path you know nothing about. That scares the shit out of most people. Why? Because it's a change. And for some people's lives, it's a radical change. If I'm used to working like low maintenance jobs, but I realize that my interests are more into high maintenance like careers. Like, let's say I'm let's say I'm a librarian, but I really want to get into like competitive sports, or I want to get into like streaming. You now have to shift lanes almost completely and start on that path. And the thing is, your mind's already halfway prepared for it. That's why it's still rotating in your brain. So it's not as bad as you think it is. It's just the fear. It's kind of like, it's the cold water theory. For those of you who don't know, I mentioned a few times, I've been trying to take cold showers. I've only been taking cold showers since last year, I want to say. And one of the reasons why is because, like, people, it's not that cold showers in a lot of ways are viewed to be better for you in the long run. But nobody wants to jump into a fucking shower and feel immediately out of their element just taking one step in that bitch. The worst thing about a cold shower is that it's cold, and if it's 6 o'clock in the morning, the first thing you don't want to do is get up and get into fucking ice cold, especially if it's cold outside. So you're getting into ice cold to then get dry and put on your work clothes, to then get into more ice cold to drive to your place of work. It's that fear of being into some unknown shit. Like hot water you're familiar with. That hot water is what you were raised on. To take baths or showers or whatever the fuck in like hot warm water, because warm shit is comforting. Cold shit is foreign and it feels alien to you. And it takes you out of the element. It takes you completely out of your element. And you're now like feeling like you're drowning or whatever. That's why when you first get hit with cold water, it's like your breath is being stolen. That's one of the reasons why people keep telling you the only thing you need to do when you're like in a cold shower is to breathe. A lot of people just forget to fucking breathe. They do this when swimming too, where people just forget to breathe. They're just holding their breath, paddling and shit. Then they realize why they're blacking out under the water. Oh, it's because I forgot to fucking breathe. God damn it. You gotta give yourself... but the thing about being in that cold water or out of your element is that sometimes it brings out a side of you didn't know exists. That you're stronger than what you think you are. And maybe you enjoy certain things more than you think you do. That's the reason why they always say, don't be afraid to step out of your element and try something different. And it comes the same thing with internal evaluation of yourself. That when you look at yourself and you know you the best, or you can figure out you the best. So you know when you're being real and when you're bullshitting. You know that you're stronger than what you are, but you're afraid of that change. It's not that you can't take the cold water in the shower. It's that you're just afraid to get that first cold rush on you. In life, it's the same thing. It's not that you, in some cases, now when it's like entertainment, that's a different story, like being a rapper or an artist or something like that. Something that requires that's like a very 1 in a million type of chance. Those are a little bit different. But like if it's just switching to a different kind of job, your fear usually is just not that you can't go and get that job or get a degree to get that job. Is that you're afraid of the shift. Like in the shower, it's the first rush of the cold hitting you and your body not being used to it. In this situation would be like if you're switching careers, you now have to go back to school maybe. And maybe you had to get some certifications or whatever. Or maybe you had to start a new job where you're at the bottom again instead of being at the top where you were now because you were comfortable. It's that sudden shift that fucks with you. And the thing about our society is a lot of people, it's always a lot of talk about, oh, you're in your 50s or you're in your 30s. You should have already made your career choice and you should have stuck with it. So a lot, especially the older you are, the worse it gets. The worse it absolutely gets about you picking a career for yourself. But as we've learned, people can do whatever the fuck they want to do. It just all depends on whether or not they're willing to do it, or willing to take the chance, or willing to look hard at themselves and give themselves a chance to do what they want to do or do what they love. And people are afraid of. And I'm not even talking. And it doesn't even have to be job. We could be talking about like your sexuality. Like some people don't find out what they're truly into. I've seen people who initially said they were trans and then started doing the treatment, and then like early on in the treatment fucking just go and just shift and be like, nah, I don't think I want to do this. And that's important because of how our society's built. It's like, well, wherever you stick on, you better stick with it. Like that's always what you hear. But like, if you're going to shift, I'm going to tell you right now, it's easier to shift early than later. You can still do it when it's later, but one of the problems I used to have in like school is that like the teachers would be like, you have any questions? And I'd be the type of dude who would have like a question, but would never raise his hand. And then I would wait until like almost test time and then ask the same question I could have asked like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you always get the question, why didn't you ask it sooner? And it's because you're nervous, because you don't want to look stupid. You don't want to look dumb. You don't want to be so out of your element. That's what it is. Like it's the same kind of principle. You're afraid of being put in a position where you're vulnerable, and that's pretty much that can be handled in every situation. And the reality is, and the teachers used to tell us this all the time, it's better to ask the question before you look stupid than after you look stupid. Or it's better to ask the question before the shit happens than after. Because before, it could have prevented the shit from happening in the first place. But society is very much on this idea of stick in the lane you pick and whatever. Because realistically, it's crazy to me that the way our society is built up, is that you have your high school years to kind of figure out what you want to do. Then you have to go immediately into college to get that, to go for that degree. And then by the time you're done, you have to go right into a job, usually to pay off the debt you accrued from trying to get the degree that you have for the job that you have now. And what trips me out is like, this is my 20s. Like half of my 20s is spent going to school to get another fucking degree. But the thing is, I just got out of high school. In a lot of cases, I'm moving away from the parents and I'm living on my own. I'm still trying to figure myself out as an adult. And then it's like, well, are you still going to school for IT? Are you still going to school for criminal justice? Are you still going to school for fucking business? And you're like, I got like a year or two in my degree and realized I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a painter. And so that's what I'm doing now. You wasted, don't do that because you should have stuck on your path. You always hear that shit from your parents. Whoever you pick, you better stick with. And it stresses people out. And so people who can't handle it or realize, man, I don't really want to do this shit, they're so scared of themselves. And the one thing I'll say the quarantine did is just that it allowed you to be in a position to look inside yourself and be in a position. And people need to just do that in general. Every once in a while, you need to just sit down and look inside yourself and be like, how are you? How do you feel about yourself? Where are you at? Are you happy where you're at? And if you are, why is that the case? Is there anything you would want to change? Are there things in your life you need to change? What are those things? What are you going to do to make those things? The reality is that change is hard. I mean, fuck, people have started wars over not wanting to change. This is tradition. This is what we should stand for. This is what my father and my father's father and my father's father's father and my father's 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 father, they all stood for. And you're like, yeah, but you need to change. But yeah, but my dad wouldn't approve of this. My dad didn't do this. I can't do this. And that's not how this works. You aren't your father. You aren't your mother. You want whoever your guardian was or whatever. The point is, you have to be willing to look at yourself and go, that ain't me. And then go towards the direction that would make you happy. Because at the end of the day, that's what people need, is happiness in their lives. There are people who travel the country who don't have like a consistent job or any stable sense of living. They just kind of wander and do odd jobs for people and kind of just float through life like that. But they're happy with themselves and they're happy with their lives. That's why you get all these cool, like, that's one of the beauties of YouTube. You get to see like so many different types of lifestyles from the comfort of your own bed. And these are people who literally looked and said, you know what, I don't want to do this shit. And you got whole families that are fucking with this. So it's not like you can't even have like a family or not. Like you can have a girlfriend or a husband or kids in this kind of lifestyle. You got the ones, I think I got caught on, what did I get caught on? Oh, I was watching like the people who have like the family vans or the family buses or whatever. And like, they just travel the country. Like they homeschool their kids and they just travel. They just want it. And these are people who used to work like normal jobs. Say, fuck it, I'm buying me like an RV, a big ass RV. I'm going to deck it out and we're just going to live on the road. That's a lifestyle they did. And they fuck with it, but they're all happy with it. That's the thing. I think another last example is I was watching a TED Talk recently and I was watching Nardwuar. Now, who doing a TED Talk. Now, Nardwuar, if you don't know, is like a famous interviewer from, I believe, Canada, who is very notorious. If you've probably seen compilations of him giving rappers like these really weird gifts and shit, and like this compilations of him surprising the rappers or whoever, or the artists he's interviewing because of the crazy, specific, cool questions he asks. But like, he was going through his TED Talk, and his TED Talk is about like just doing it. Like, where when he was first starting out and gaining a name for himself, he was just putting himself in compromising positions. But the one thing he never stopped himself from doing was asking questions, looking and going, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Because the worst thing they can say to you is no. He wasn't afraid to just fucking go out there and do what he wanted to do. And if he took an L, he took an L. If he gets embarrassed, he gets embarrassed. That's kind of the situation when looking in yourself. Don't be afraid to try new things. You're a grown-ass man or woman. You're trying to figure your shit out. You're going to make mistakes. But here's the thing is, people will respect you more for putting in an effort to find that happiness you deserve as a person versus you sitting there at your desk at a computer in a cubicle typing away for 6 years and still being unhappy as fuck. And we all know you're unhappy, but you don't, and you know you're unhappy, but you won't just sit down and realistically. That's why people get stuck in bad marriages and shit, where they know they don't love the person they're with anymore. But it's harder for them to move away. It's harder for them to make that change. But I promise you, people's lives and relationships would be so much better if they were willing to take that risk, look inside themselves and go, this is what needs to happen. I'm hoping with the quarantine, that's what happened with a lot of people. I know it happened with me to a degree. And it's happened with a bunch of my friends where we just went, yeah, the way I've been living just can't keep up. And that's realistically what it is. The way I've been living is not going to get me happy. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be at peace. I got to make a change. And then it's up to you to make that change. But the first way of making the change is to acknowledge you need to make a change. So, yeah. Hopefully that was interesting. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy. It's been the vlogs again from your boy Terrell. And I will catch you guys later.